So you want to lose weight and keep it off? Learn how to maintain a lifetime of health and fitness with new breakthrough information on when and what to eat and how to exercise. Next on Living Smart.
Production funding for Living Smart with Patricia Gras is underwritten in part by Halliburton.
Hello, I'm Patricia Gras. Welcome to Living Smart, the show designed to help you get the most out of life. Today's guest, Dr. Robert Moore III, shares his knowledge of the ins and outs of the human body. He teaches us to create and maintain a lifetime of health and fitness by watching the quality of the food we eat and how much we move or exercise in our daily lives.
On three. 1, 2, 3.
Good morning, Dr. Moore.
Could have a slight stress fracture. Here's the inside ankle bone. Next week when you come back, we'll go over the x-rays together.
Dr. Robert Moore III keeps up the pace in everything he does. That's because he's passionate about fitness and preventative health.
Problem solving is a program that keeps running in my head. And I try and combine that with my passion for science and medicine. And then it seems very obvious that health, fitness, and wellness fit with me like an old shoe.
The foot and ankle surgeon found his calling early on as an outdoor adventurer and later on an intellectual athlete.
Because I was excelling in sports, and I was also excelling in scholastic endeavors and getting into the upper division courses. And of course, my family was giving me a lot of kudos for that. My mother's a nurse, my father's an engineer, and he has a passion for building and fixing things, which is definitely something that I love to do. And my mother has a passion for healing and helping others. How about the base of this bone here?
That doesn't.
That's good news.
That's good news?
That's a bad breakdown here.
Fixing people's walking tools and keeping himself fit was not enough for Dr. Moore.
The 5 meals a day, it's amazing how it works.
He found himself talking to his patients about preventative health.
My problem is that even though medicine is a wonderful practice, it's reaching its end point. And all us doctors know what the right thing to do is, but we're caught up in fixing the problems, fixing what we call end-stage disease, heart disease, diabetes, cancer. And all those disease entities go down when you're monitoring your health and your weight and your well-being with eating and exercise habits. So that's why I've directed myself that way, because I know a lot about it. And I think with the new changing healthcare system and also people's premiums getting to the point where they can't afford them, something's got to break. Let me show you the interactive website where we can go to Body of Knowledge Tools, and the 6 fuel groups and the meal planner and the recipe planner are all right here.
So in the past few years, he's developed Body of Knowledge to create and maintain a lifetime of health and fitness.
It is a health, weight management, and wellness system that's supported by a book and a website and workshops.
Moore's quest for wellness began when he gained 50 pounds in medical school. To lose it, he began eating 5 to 10 small meals a day, and slowly with exercise, he began losing weight. This sparked a particular interest in how the body works, information he eagerly began sharing with his patients.
I can give you a study right now that shows that anybody with any metabolic problem, with any disease, with any bad fat genes and all that other stuff, I can lock them in a room and feed them 5 meals a day and good quality foods, and their blood lipids will change, they'll start to lose weight. Perfect.
His program Body of Knowledge focuses on sustainable weight loss. No gimmicks or tricks or supplements needed. Just knowledge of how the body works and what you need to do on your own to be healthy.
They're going to understand what their body is capable of, what the proper food and nutrients are, which ones to put in at what time, what type of exercise is the best to maintain the best metabolism, and then what type of pitfalls that they come into both physically and mentally, or edit it depending upon your lifestyle.
With an obesity epidemic affecting almost every American family, Moore wants to enter the mainstream to effect change with his program. And he's testing it at home with his 2 twin girls. who from the moment they were born until today, Daddy has kept active and healthy.
Sometimes they gasp when they see me dig into a brownie. You know, we're out at a restaurant. I'm like, oh, let me try a piece of that. And I continue to tell them I'm still human.
Dr. Moore understands permanent weight loss takes time and effort, but it's also a matter of mind over matter, and most importantly, knowledge.
This is something I don't think many people think they have the power over. If it's monetary, if it's education, or if it's accessibility to the tools that I'm trying to provide. It's the body, and all you have to do is learn the owner's manual.
Thank you, Dr. Robert Moore, for joining us.
My pleasure.
It's great. Where does your passion for this type of health and fitness idea come from?
It comes from, again, my parents. My mother, as a nurse, did give us healthy eating habits when we were younger.
Right.
Father had his passion as an engineer for building, but getting into sports was probably the impetus of all this. And when I started playing sports and finding out how I could shape certain parts of my body, stay in shape, and also continue to eat and modify my my weight and my stature, well, then that brought me to the point where I felt I could control it. And then after that, of course, my studies in medical school brought it all together with the why.
Right. Now, there are so many books out there on health and fitness, dime a dozen. There's many. How is yours different from everyone else's?
Well, what we've done is we've condensed all the information from eating and food with the 3 principles of eating, with how much, how often, and what to eat. And the same thing with exercise. Condensed them all into a book, but mainly focused in on the why. Mm-hmm. And if people know why they're doing it and how to do it on their own, they'll be more apt to continue on with their endeavors. Yes.
Let's talk about the energy molecule. You talk about that in your book, and that's important for us to know in the human body.
It's important because it's a fun tool for my patients. They brought it up, that you can't hold on to energy. You can't, just like the electricity in your house or calories, but carbohydrates, fats, and protein, well, you can add those up. So when they found out there was a molecule that these 3 fuels make to fuel the body, it was something they could hold on to.
Right.
So again, ATP is like a battery on wheels, and that's what really supplies our body with the calories.
And that's what's important for you, is to explain the body as a machine.
Yes.
There are many reasons why we have an obesity epidemic. What do you think are the main reasons?
Well, it's easy to say we don't eat well and exercise enough.
Right. I mean,
but beyond that, it's the convenience of the unhealthy foods. And also, they're inexpensive. The convenience stores, the fast food. But on top of that, there's no accountability. You have a system where even medicine is treating end-stage disease like heart disease, diabetes, and cancer. So we'd like to turn the tide, make the focus on prevention, and pull things into the area of focusing on food and exercise, and then rewarding people for that.
Well, unfortunately, there's little money in prevention. That's one of the problems. Explain the glycemic index, and what does it mean, and what does it have to do with weight loss? Because we keep hearing about, insulin going up and down and sugar levels going up and down. If you could explain that.
Glycemic index is very simple. It's the amount of sugar that enters your bloodstream after you eat a food, usually rich in carbohydrates. So, for example, some foods are very high glycemic index, like sugar, and some are very, very low, like your meats and cheeses, or even another carbohydrate like a root vegetable or a bell pepper, something like that. The point is once this sugar enters the bloodstream, it actually releases insulin. So the higher glycemic index, the higher insulin is released, which is the storage hormone, which allows us to store more fat.
I was going to say, the higher the insulin, the more fat you're going to keep in your body.
Yes.
So meaning we should eat less sugars.
Yes.
I'm assuming. Why do people fail so much in diets? Most people who start a diet fail in the long term. Why is that?
Well, they're all centered around control, willpower, and diet restriction. When you really understand the body and that we have to eat every 2 to 3 hours, and you start fueling your machine, the metabolism revs higher, and it's easier to keep the weight off. If you starve the body, the very fuels that you need are depleted, and then the next time you do eat, your body hangs on to it.
Right.
And you can actually atrophy your muscle mass, which is what burns the calories. So it's a whole new diet game, and it's more just learning how to run your machine.
You have said that it's very important to eat something every 2 hours. Why is that? It's to keep that index steady, correct?
It's back to insulin. And that's why we try to not throw too many fancy words out there in biochemistry. It's just simple. You have your glycemic index, or foods that actually allow insulin to be released. 3 meals a day is not what we're designed to eat. So if you can push it up to 5 meals a day, or even 7 smaller meals, you'll actually eat less, your insulin will stay lower, and you won't store as much fat.
And isn't that true that that revs up your metabolism when you eat every 2 hours? It makes your body work better.
It does. It allows, again, it allows less storage-friendly environments so the muscles can burn more calories. The problem is it doesn't really rev the metabolism up. It's just an easy way to educate people. The actual truth is that it will give the body more of a storage, unfriendly environment. But the metabolism is definitely hooked to your muscle mass.
Let's talk about the 3 principles of eating. And we keep hearing, you know, the less you eat, the longer you're going to live. Why is that?
Well, it's a tough entity because it is the truth. But what drives it, the first principle, of course, is eat less. The second is eat more often. And the third is eat better, healthier foods, what to eat. And the only way you can really eat less is to get the 2 and 3 in sync. So it's really the multiple frequencies and the better food that allows you to eat less. But at the end of the day, yes, if you do eat less, there's less cancer, less diabetes, less heart disease. Even the tests they've done with mice, they lived 1/5 longer than the control group that ate all they could.
What should we be eating? I mean, are there things that we know for sure are good things for us to eat?
We do know. We do know. The Homo sapien diet, or human diet as a species, is mainly with vegetables, fruit, and naturally fed beef, chicken, seafood, fish, and also nuts. So those 4 are the main ones to stick to, because you get all your vitamins and minerals from fruit and vegetables anyway. And with the 5 meals a day, it's very easy to get enough vitamins and minerals from 1 or 2 vitamin pills, if you will. So those are the main 4 groups, and if you stick to those and then allow some of the other grains and breads in slowly, you'll have a healthier lifestyle and live longer.
Are there not too many oils in nuts, for example?
No, nuts are full of oils, but they're good oils. They're polyunsaturated fats, the ones we're supposed to eat. And then the omega-3s that we hear about, those are the polyunsaturated good fats of the animal world. So I kind of clear that up.
How should we be eating? Because we hear there are certain combinations that we need to look at. How should we be eating these 4 groups that you mentioned?
Well, there's a couple of ways you can. I have a fat loss weight maintenance percentage of 60% carbohydrates, 30% protein, and 10% fat. And what that does, that allows a 2-to-1 ratio, so you're at a restaurant, you don't feel like crunching numbers, twice as many carbohydrates as protein. It makes it real easy. And then there's an accelerated form that's a 1-to-1 ratio. But at the end of the day, if you eat those 4 groups in unison with a 2-to-1 ratio, it's very healthy and enough carbohydrates around so you can exercise.
Give me some of the best carbohydrates to eat every day.
Again, it's fruit and vegetables.
Fruit and vegetables and all
Believe
kinds.
it or not. And I know that some of these high glycemic fruits, like your oranges, seem to get people pulling away from them. But the fiber and the actual vitamins in them are so much better for you. And they actually slow down the absorption. So it's a tough spin on who to believe. But at the end of the day, the multiple meals will keep things low enough so you don't get that big glycemic index rush. So if you stick to the principles and you stick to the right foods, you can't lose.
You know, one of the things that we know that we shouldn't be eating is processed foods. There's so much of that out there. And I know you teach a little bit about labeling, food labeling.
Yes.
What do you teach, and give me examples of hidden ingredients that we don't know about or that are on there?
Well, if you stick to the fact that most packaged or boxed or canned foods are 1 serving, and sometimes they have up to 3 or 4 servings. So when you're looking at the calories and the contents, it's not really what's in the entire can or box, number 1. Number 2, when you're in the ingredients and you see these wild-looking organic chemistry words like maltodextrin and anything like
Corn syrup, for example.
Oh, yeah, high fructose corn syrup.
Right, right.
You have your enriched flour.
Right.
Basically, in some of these cookies, cakes, and crackers, not to beat up on that one group, there's enriched flour, which has a very high glycemic index, high fructose corn syrup, maltodextrin, modified food starch, and sometimes some food additives to give it taste that also have high glycemic index. So you have this first line of foods that nobody recognizes. It might as well be sugar.
What do we need to know about sugars and salts and how they react in the body?
It's real simple. We're wired. We're a machine. The tip of our tongue has salt and sugar receptors, and they're wired right back to our brainstem, telling us to survive. And we were sensitive only to salt in animal products, and now we have shaker salt, and then we are only sensitive to natural sugars. So that heightened response tells us, in caveman words, good, me no starve. So we eat more.
So that's why we have so many cravings for these things, right?
Yes.
Interesting. What should we do about those types of cravings?
It's interesting that you really can't do anything about it, but one thing you can, if you stick to the 3 principles, eat your meal, and then drink lots of water, give your time 20 minutes for your body to figure out, hey, now I'm satisfied. The satiety center of the brain takes 20 minutes to realize what you've eaten. Then if you want your cravings, go right ahead and have your piece of chocolate, your cookie. You won't eat that much anyway.
How do you know when you're full?
It's an interesting question, because full is now a misnomer. Believe it or not, the absence of hunger is what we should be shooting for. If you're full or your stomach feels loaded or stuffed, then you've actually gone beyond the unhealthy mark. And the only way we can realize that is to retrain our brain to not try and feel that stuffed feeling.
Let's discuss exercise, because I know you said some really interesting things about exercise. What are some of the principles of good exercise? What works out for us?
Basically, the 3 are repetitions, technique, and breathing. And even though technique seems kind of like a no-brainer, just work out the right way and don't hurt yourself, it's important to combine it with breathing. For example, if you're pushing away from something or you're flexing your bicep, you should be blowing out. That aids with the chest and the blood return, and also inhaling on the relaxation stroke of any exercise you do helps with the return of the blood to the heart so the oxygen can get in the lungs and send it back out to the muscles. So it's very important to do the three principles, and also aim towards resistance training.
Interesting. Why is resistance? I mean, we hear this all the time. Weightlifting is important. Why is that so important?
It's so important because if we walk throughout the day, we control our food with calories, we're really not going to get that many calories in, and we're going to burn a lot of calories. Really, what you want to do is try to hedge your bets to increase your metabolism. And the only way you can is to add more muscle mass, because more muscle mass is more machinery, which burns more calories.
What's the best target for fat burning?
Best target for fat burning is a low aerobic type of exercise. And I know I'm talking about 2 different things now, but as the body selects fuel, it selects fuel with the type of exercise we do. We need the muscle mass from resistance training, which basically burns carbohydrates. But if you want to burn fat, it's consistent, non-labored breathing, walking, biking, inline skating, whatever you like, and do that for a consistent amount of time, a minimum of 20 to 30 minutes, and all the way up to an hour if you can sustain it. That will burn more fat fuel.
Interesting, but you need to really work on your muscles. You need to have, the higher the muscle mass, the easier it is to lose weight, correct?
That's how they work together. You can't really burn a lot of fat unless you're doing an aerobic type of exercise, but at the same time, if you have the muscle mass that's increasing your metabolism, you'll just burn more of it when you are doing aerobic exercise. You work the 2 together, which is a conditioning type of exercise I call switch training.
No, we know that everybody has to exercise, and that's out there, but what about stretching? I mean, a lot of people don't stretch at all, but I understand you have to stretch before and after exercise. And how does that help with weight loss?
Well, it's more of maintenance. Stretching is very important because, to split them up, if you will, stretching before leans more towards preventing injury, and stretching afterwards leans more towards preventing cramping and things, and helping your technique. But in regards to the weight management or weight loss, it's still driven more towards food and exercise. Stretching is important because you won't be able to continue your exercise if you don't do it. So the answer directly is, of course, before and after is more important, to do them both. But if you had to pick one, I would probably do it before.
Now, challenges that you face. So you spend a chapter talking about, well, we've all tried diets, and we come to that point where we go, oh, I'm stuck. I can't go anymore. You know, I'm not losing more weight. And you give some tips on that, on when you face that challenge of you're stuck. Where do we go from here?
It's more of the body of knowledge teaching platform. And if you know why you're plateauing, that all your body's asking for is a rest, give it the rest. Come back later, and you'll get just as good of results or better. And, you know, there's soreness, stiffness, burning muscles, fatigue, cramping. All these things I put into one group because they're what makes us quit. And those you can work on and circumvent by learning what they are, why they're happening, and then how to get around them.
Now, some people just hate to exercise. They just don't like it. And when you think about losing a lot of weight, you kind of get overwhelmed. I'll have to change my diet and exercise. But isn't it more important to watch what you eat than exercise? And is there a minimum amount that you need to exercise if you're eating well?
Well, and I think the USDA and the National Institute of Health have put out the 1 hour a day of exercise. If it's walking, lifting weights, climbing stairs at your job, that's all you really need to do. The example I like to use is what you would do if you ate better or healthier versus tried to exercise the weight off.
Right.
And a great example is the run I went on this morning probably burned about 400 to 500 calories.
Which is not very much.
Yeah. And it was about a half hour, and that a lot of people wouldn't even want to do that. But if I went to Mickey D's and I had a 1,200 calorie burger, fries, and Coke, but I chose to have a real healthy turkey burger with tomatoes and maybe some vegetables and fruit, around 600 or 500 calories.
Then you're doing well.
You not only missed out on another 600 calories, but you can even avoid the run. So food is the power of weight management, definitely.
Absolutely. And you are very passionate also about childhood obesity. That concerns you. You have two children, and, well, they're not children anymore, but what do you believe are some good tips for parents to know about, you know, childhood prevention and childhood obesity prevention?
What's beautiful is all the psychological studies coming out now don't restrict anymore. They go against the grain. Believe it or not, if you restrict these foods from your children, they will eat more when they're away from the house. The best tips are lead by example.
Okay.
Put your fruit and your vegetables in bowls at a level they can reach. Also eat from them yourself. And then you'll lead by example. Then on the occasional snack, they're a little bit more difficult to get to, and you of course don't connect any kind of reward or punishment or extortion. That is where the dysfunctional eating habits start.
I was going to ask you, how do you do away with dysfunctional eating habits? You know, the way we act as adults, we learned as children. Yeah,
it's interesting that even though parents, even of my era, finish everything on your plate was such an act of love, the irony is it does connect food to love and also for acceptance. So even if a child isn't full and they have a little bit of food left, it's probably best just to let them leave the table. When they're hungry, they'll ask for more food, and it's your job to say, well, let's try some healthy stuff first,
right,
and then go to the other more unhealthy ones as a snack. Because if you don't stop that early, they will want to feel that stuffed feeling or that full feeling, finish everything on their plate, and they'll associate it with your praise and your acceptance.
What are your plans for the future? I know you want to make a big difference in America to stop this obesity epidemic. What are some of your plans?
Well, we know it has to be from a source that's reputable. So although our product could be given to the public or even corporate wellness, we're going to focus with the physicians. If the physicians deliver this and then patients come back to them for lipid profiles, test their blood, weight, lean and fat mass, they're showing improvement, my hopes is that the insurance companies will lower the deductibles, also lower their premiums, and they'll be rewarded for it, and we'll keep it off easier.
Okay, and how do you know you're living smart?
Well, I'm trying to live by practice what I preach. And it just feels good to know what I'm putting in my body, at the frequency that I'm putting it into, the way to exercise, sharing it with my children. It does feel good to be living smart and share the health.
What kind of reaction are you getting from people who are using your program so far?
what I really love about it is the ones that aren't the drastic weight change. They'll say, I'm sleeping better.
Right.
They'll say, 5 meals a day, I'm more awake. I'm not falling asleep after lunch. I'm also feeling like I don't want to eat as much, and I'm losing weight without even exercising. I had one patient who was in bed after an ankle surgery, and she was losing weight, switching to 5 times a day with food and healthier choices.
That's amazing. Well, great. You're doing great work, and I hope you're very successful in this campaign. Thank you so much for joining us. It's great to have you here. And for more information on Dr. Robert Moore III, you can check our website, houstonpbs.org/livingsmart, where you'll find a complete resource list. Feel free to share your own views on weight management. You can call us with your comments at 713-743-8513 or email livingsmart@houstonpbs.org. And that's our show for today. I hope you've enjoyed it. Remember to live smart. I'm Patricia Gras. Have a healthy week.
Production funding for Living Smart with Patricia Gras is underwritten in part by Halliburton. For a transcript of this program, send $6.95 to the address on your screen. Please include the name of the guest.